Today I wanted to make a video about the first mix steps I take after recording live drums. Let's start with just a dry playthrough of where we left off on the drum tone. You can see everything is dry at this point, no inserts on anything, no processing of any kind, even on the way in. I wanted to start completely raw here and just get a sense of the tone. I can hear the spatial quality of the overheads very well. I can distinguish where the cymbals are in the imaging, the toms. That's something I'm definitely looking for. Everything's in phase, so it's sounding full. Let's look at next steps from here. So the first thing I'm going to do here is to supplement my live snare drum tone with a sample. For this, I'm going to load Trigger 2 by Slate. There is a CLA snare that pairs perfectly with my CNC maple gum snare drum, and I'm going to load that as the source. Alright, once we've got that sample loaded, I'm going to start by adjusting the detail knob so that all of my transients are mapped by the trigger. Next, I'm going to start muting those elements of the sample that I don't need. Bottom snare, overheads, room. I have all of those set up from my live recording, so those are out. Next up, I'm linking all of my curves so that the dynamic response of the sample, what I'm aiming for here, and you can see I'm adjusting the range, is for that sample to be exactly the same every time the snare is triggered. Alright, let's play back once more, and this is where we start to fine-tune the tone a little bit. What we're aiming to do here is to simply supplement the existing tone of our live recording. So I'm going to bring that mix down, let's bypass, and I'm back in. And now we're at a 50% blend between my live recording and the sample. Let's play around with that mix. I'm going to come down to 25 and bypass. Back in. This is kind of a go-to for me. I tend to favor a little bit less of the sample, a little bit more of my live recording, something that's truer to the tone of the actual performance. Let's come down to 0 and let's just work our way up very gradually. 10%. Just a little more snappy, a little more transient. 15%. Let's work our way back up to 25. That's a pretty subtle difference, but I definitely hear the impact of the transient giving me that snap of the drum that I think will really stand out in the context of a mix. Let's listen to the playback with the trigger to see where we ended up. Right away, I can tell the transient is snappy. I mean, it's coming through much more than it was initially. Let's bypass to compare. Back in. Love that. To my ear, it's just a little snappier with that transient, a little more pop off the snare drum, and I think that's going to help cut through the mix. All right, if y'all like the sound of that, maybe give this a shot in your next live drum tracking session. This is John from Third Coast.